Welcome back to the house, everyone. We are here after a long and tumultuous season of football. We are here back at the house to unfortunately end our long journey. It's been a fun ride, a long ride, bumpy ride. But listen, we're glad you guys stuck around with it with us. We are back at the house on YouTube. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. So check us out there. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. Leave a subscription. Leave a like, too. That'd be great. I'm your podcast host, Noah Marano, back again with my co-host and producer, Big Dom's newborn son, Patrick Mahomes II, with us live in studio.
You know, my dad left me.
Oh.
But before he left, gave me one piece of great advice I hold near and dear to my heart to this day. So everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Until they get punched in the mouth.
And I'll tell you what, I believe wholeheartedly Kansas City had a plan going into that Super Bowl. And I believe wholeheartedly that plan went out the window when they got punched in the mouth.
Can I offer you an alternative?
Nope.
I don't think they ever had a plan to begin with.
Oh, 100%.
I thought their plan was, let's ride this crazy devil worship we've got going on.
No, don't be silly. Kansas City had a plan.
Oh, man. They did, and I agree. They got punched in the mouth. They got punched in the stomach. They got kicked in the head. They got all sorts of beat up. Wasn't even
Mahomes did.
Mahomes
Not really
did.
anybody else.
And the offensive line. Boy,
Sure.
they just were struggling to keep their heads above water that entire game. If you lived under a rock, you might not have noticed that it's ended, Joe.
Yeah.
It's over. The Chiefs' magical run of voodoo.
The bull crap.
It's gone. It's
gone.
done. It's over with. It's behind us. It will be no three-peat. The Eagles went and sent them to the curbside with a curb stomping. Of one of the worst ones I've ever seen. It is now probably the second. I don't want to say worst Super Bowl because I honestly like seeing teams get obliterated. I think it's fun sometimes. It kind of sucks when it is like the last game of the year because it's like that's really what we're left with to end the season on. After, like we've said many times, like a great year of football. But I love a good curb stomping, and this is I've now seen two in my life that were like nowhere close. Like there's nothing else that compares to those two in football, and it was the Broncos Super Bowl where the Seahawks just absolutely took them to the woodshed, and then now this one. And I'd say I guess I would put as a close third the Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl, which we're gonna get into because there was a lot of reminiscing on that one tonight. But we are coming to you a couple days after the Super Bowl, a little bit fresher perspective. We've had some time to stew in the game. But yeah, I mean, like, what was your immediate reactions to like watching this happen live? Because mine was just like, I was shocked. I didn't think it was gonna be like that bad. I did jokingly say to somebody in the room, like before the game, like when the game kicked off, like Eagles blowout anyone? And boy, was that an omen.
Yeah,
but were you shocked at all? Because I was shocked.
Oh, I definitely was. But listen, by no means is what I'm about to say a revolutionary thought. Something you've probably all heard a million times since, Sunday night. But it was very reminiscent of Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
It literally looked exactly like how that game played out. Mahomes having absolutely zero time to do anything before he was met and greeted by four very large men.
Yes.
Trying to take his head off.
Yeah, dude. Insane.
And so I think I was shocked. I think it was like within the first couple drives, Kansas City drives, I was like jarred because I was like, they're actually getting to
They're going to have a long night, was my initial thought after those first couple drives.
Why it was shocking was because I don't think at any point this year has any reporter, anybody covering the Chiefs, anybody said, man, the Chiefs' real weak point is that offensive line.
Yeah.
That's never been a conversation.
It's been since the Bucs Super Bowl that's even been words uttered into the ether.
Nobody has said, man, the Chiefs' O-line is just really bad.
Yeah.
Nobody's
like propping it up as like
it's not the
best in the league,
but it's not bad.
No, not at all.
They have like
not terrible.
Some great players.
They had two. I want to say, were they all pro? No, the all pro list hasn't been released yet. It was Pro Bowlers. Two of the Chiefs linemen were Pro Bowlers initially. So
it's like you're not by no means are you going into this like, man, Chiefs O line, they're gonna struggle. So like just to see the Eagles D line absolutely dismantle them
Yeah.
was like jarring.
Yeah.
Like it was like Mahomes dropped back,
I mean,
boom, someone's already
somebody
there.
was there.
Okay, he's getting out. Boom, another guy.
Yeah.
Biggest thing I noticed was like anytime Mahomes got out the pocket,
Mm.
whoever was on the D line automatically disengaged and cut off angle.
Yeah. They weren't letting them scramble.
They didn't try to go for him.
Mhm.
They were like, nope, I'm just gonna cut him off. Maybe he gets a yard or two. That's all he's getting.
Yeah. Or even we'll let him take a chuck ball down the field. We trust the backfield to do their job.
And what happened on one of those? A pick six. From
Two of them, really. I mean, actually, there's almost three. There was one on the sideline that almost was an interception, and they were out of bounds.
So, yeah. And then the flag with
Yeah.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It was jarring, dude. You don't see the greats. Like, rarely did you ever see, like, Tom Brady under that much stress.
Yeah.
And when he was, they weren't winning.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
the only time we really saw Tom Brady in a similar scenario was against the Giants in 2007.
Yeah.
Where they did the same thing. They just came in with 4, and they did something that nobody had been able to do all season.
So it's like when you get pressure organically from a 4-man rush, you get to just sit back in coverage. And we talked about it. The Eagles' defensive scheme is not the most complex thing you've ever seen in your life. Really, it's just sitting in zone coverage.
Yeah.
They just have some dogs
Just more talented.
in that secondary. Yeah. And they've got even bigger dogs in that 4-man rush.
Yeah.
And so it's like the fact that they were either sacking Mahomes, making him scramble. I knew the game was over when Mahomes scrambled right. He ran. He crossed the line of scrimmage. He cut back across to the left, ran all the way back to midfield and got tackled. Maybe he probably got like a 10-yard gain or something like that. Once I saw Mahomes do all that, I said, yeah, this game's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game's over. Once you have Mahomes playing like that, trying to be Superman, game's over.
And let's stick on the scrambling thing for a minute, too, because like the biggest thing I think was the difference between this Super Bowl versus the Bucs Super Bowl is in the Bucs Super Bowl, it kind of just seemed like like a lot of his receivers were dropping passes. Like, weird thing, I actually like watched the full highlight of that game like 2 days before the Super Bowl. I don't know why. I just had like we live in the Tampa Bay area, so I was just kind of reminiscing, and so I kind of just went online and watched that highlight. And if you watch it back, you notice like A, his receivers were dropping everything, but B, it was weird because it was like a younger Mahomes who was just scrambling like a chicken with his head cut off, but he was ultimately like making some crazy plays, like just magician level plays, and they just weren't converting. The difference between that game and this game was there were times where I felt like Mahomes in his growth, like when he was scrambling, he knew where to go and he knew like how to be careful at times, but he was ultimately just making mistakes that like we don't really see him perform as since he's been in the league, really. I mean, outside of like that Super Bowl, which again, he wasn't really making a lot of mistakes in that Super Bowl. He actually like had a pretty okay Super Bowl that game. It just his offensive line didn't hold up. And this game though, like it was like completely different because he was missing throws. He was throwing balls low. He was throwing balls behind. It just I don't know if he got rattled like really early on and it just stuck with him the entire game. But it seemed like from the get-go, like I remember there was a Travis crosser on the first drive, and he threw it behind him on like second down, and it was just like it just wasn't anywhere close. And like the coverage was good, but we've seen him make that throw a million times. So he was just missing throws, and obviously like a lot of that was very much because of the pressure. But also a different thing, like you said, is like when he was able to scramble, what he's been able to do all season is break you with his legs, and he just wasn't able to find those alleys tonight. He wasn't at all. He would find one for a brief second, and it would close up very fast. And I think that's a testament to not only the Eagles' defense, but I think most importantly, like they were able to do that because nobody was open half the time. That's where it was a little different from the Bucs game. In the Bucs game, that secondary was great too, but there were guys open at times. They just were not open tonight at all. And the few times they were, it was either a DeAndre Hopkins drop, it was either a Mahomes just misses him, or it was the pressure just got there too quick. And so, utter dismantling of that line. And we kind of hinted at that when we were talking about this game last week. Like, if there's going to be a way to do it, like what other way really is there other than just, destroy their line? And ultimately, like you said, like when you can do that with only 4, that like completely changes the game plan. And I don't think the Chiefs on any level of the ball did a good job adjusting about that. I don't think the coaches did. I don't think Mahomes did. I don't think the players around him did. I don't even think like the offensive linemen and the running backs who were put in the game to maybe chip off that or whatever they were doing down there, it just wasn't working. Nothing, and it didn't seem like they were trying much different the entire game. So that was a crazy thing. And then, yeah, I mean, like as we get into it, listen, the Chiefs, like I will say one thing that they did really well that kind of got covered up in this whole mess is their run defense showed up to play. But outside of that, they couldn't do anything to stop the Eagles' offense. Like, not a damn thing.
We talked about it, right? We said Chiefs' game plan defensively is going to be, and everybody knew it, you're going to stop Saquon.
Yeah, sell it to Saquon.
And they did. They did a great job selling out. That being said, we said they got to make Jalen Hurts beat him.
Yeah.
And by golly, he did.
Listen.
He did.
He's the biggest thing I want to talk about in this episode. I want to save him for a couple more minutes down the road. Because, boy, he knocked my socks off. He really did.
So like that being said, granted, a good amount of the time too, like I wouldn't say a good amount of time, a few times. One, defense gave him a touchdown. Obviously huge.
Yeah.
Then the Zach Bond pick.
Yeah.
Basically put him in field goal, like automatically in field goal range. But I'm pretty sure off that interception was a one-play touchdown to AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Crossing route, boom, hit him. AJ Brown snuck in. So like right there is just 14 points off defense.
Yeah,
really.
Mahomes said it in the presser after the game too. He was like, "Yeah, it's my fault they got out to that 14-0 lead. And it was just that was my fault."
Yeah. Well, 21-0 lead.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about those first two scores that you were talking about.
Well, those are second two. The Eagles scored and then the pick six. And
I was really just talking about the first drive. The first drive the Eagles scored. They went down and scored.
Yep.
And then
the
Mahomes pick six happened, and then
the pick.
Yeah, so it's just like
touchdown. So the 14 points on the board for the Eagles
immediately.
Were definitely credit to Mahomes making a bad play.
Yeah.
Which I think like when he threw that pick to Cooper DeJean, bro, because obviously
we lost our mind.
Bro, when you're watching, like you can't see down the field.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just watching Mahomes run out.
Yeah.
And then you're watching him throw on the run, which he's done a million times.
Yeah.
And the camera goes.
Yeah.
And Cooper DeJean has the ball.
Yeah.
Bro, lost my
It was electric.
marbles.
It was electric.
And then he was running it back. I was like, there's no way. I was like, he's going to get tackled. I was like, but great field position.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to get tackled. Great field position. And he ran it in, bro.
Dude, it was great.
Man.
The room lost its mind that I was in. We were all losing it. We were like, this is insane.
Oh, my gosh, bro. That was so electric, bro. That was so good.
It was electric. But, yeah, the Eagles' defense, listen, they just were otherworldly. And honestly, like, I think the book is out officially on how do you stop Mahomes. Like, it's been a kind of a question mark for the past 3 years, it seems like.
Yeah.
And the book really is like, listen, you have to have 3 levels of defense, 3 levels of solid defense. Not only that, you have to beat the ever-loving dog shit out of his offensive line. Like, just in a gruesome way. We've seen times where, like, they've gotten pressured. Like, even in the Bills win earlier in the year, the Bills were able to get home and they were able to, like, put pressure on that line, but not like this. Like, the way you truly can beat him in a playoff setting, in a contending setting, is you just have to absolutely massacre his offensive line. And then you kind of foreshadowed at it a little bit is the Eagles. Listen, what did we say about Washington? Like, their whole recipe to winning was what? Get a lead and just live off that lead. It's been what their recipe has been for a lot of the year. And just like that Washington game too, they got turnovers in the worst parts of the field for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their recipe the last 2 games that we saw them at their utmost dominance. They made those 2 things happen like nonstop, and you couldn't do anything about it. And ultimately, that's what produces the buzzsaw momentum of just them running over the team they're playing. And so, I mean, that's officially like the book. Like, I don't know if other teams can. I don't know how many teams can really replicate that. That's a tall task. We've seen now 2 all-time defenses like really do that. Like, even if you go down and look at that Bucs defense, that year they were just incredible, and the players on that field were that just like that front 7 was insane. And they even had dudes in the backfield like Antoine Winfield. So, you just have to have a really talented defense at all levels, and you got to be able to get home with 4. Yeah. And not only do you have to get home, you have to completely just massacre his line, which we'll see how the Chiefs respond to this. I mean, maybe they do try and go bolster that because they realize that that's been the 2 things that's killed them in the 2 Super Bowls that they've lost is the offensive line. But, like, they've got 2 good guys there. It's really just about filling the pieces and just kind of hoping for the best, I feel like, outside of that. Like, how much more can you really hope for? And not everybody's going to have the Eagles' offensive line where you just have, like, 4 to 5 incredible players. You know what I mean?
For sure. And, I mean, I don't know, offensively as well with the Eagles, like even though the Chiefs were selling out for the run, like they did keep running it just to keep them honest.
They did. He had like, what did he have at the end of the game? He had like
Who?
Saquon. He had so many carries.
He had, I have it right here. He had 25 carries for 57 yards.
Yeah, the over was like 18. He crushed it.
Yeah. So they were just keeping him honest.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, you're gonna sell for the run, then sell out, because if we get into 4th and 1, if we get in 3rd and 1,
yeah,
we have a guaranteed first down.
Dude, yeah. And they played that card a lot.
Oh yeah, Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Big play.
AJ Brown had a big play.
Tackled. Oh, Jahan Dotson got tackled at the 1.
Oh, that's right.
You remember?
Yeah.
I wish he scored.
I was
hoping
when he scored, I was like excited, but then I was like, is he down at the 1? And then they showed the replay, and I was like, oh, he's down at the 1.
So that was sad. But as soon as like you saw his knee, and they're like, oh, he's down at the 1. I was like, yeah, but
we
like,
know what time it is.
yeah, he's down at the 1.
Yeah.
But like,
and this is a different beast
we
from.
we can just keep the 7 up there
For sure. This is a different beast from Josh Allen going over the left
Oh,
guard.
I was telling my wife when she was watching. I was like, I think I texted you too.
Yeah, I think you did.
I said Josh Allen running the QB sneak is like the Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
Okay, you're about to meet Michael freaking Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, you're about to meet Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Yeah.
And lo and behold,
Yeah.
first attempt,
I mean,
shoved it down.
it's crazy because like it's funny because when Josh Allen does it, like Josh Allen really is like he's the primary like thing pushing that forward into the 4th down conversion. With Hurts, it really is just like it's 7 pieces working in unison.
Oh yeah,
it's so beautiful to watch.
Hurts is just like, I don't want to say he's floating. He is pushing.
I mean, dude,
Hurts squats.
It's partly his squat. Yeah.
Yeah, he squats like 600
He's
pounds.
insanely powerful with his
Then
legs.
he's got 2 big boys right behind him pushing him. Then he's got his very, very chunky offensive line.
It's the perfect recipe.
And it's just
Other people are trying to replicate the recipe, and they can do it sometimes. Okay, if you have like one really good component of the recipe, like the Bills with Josh Allen, but nobody can replicate it like they do. They are the master authors.
And that was the biggest thing, is like when they did that first sneak and got it, Chris Jones got hurt during it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got his neck.
Saw his neck was like.
Was that on the first one? I thought that was way later in the game that he hurt his neck.
It was on the first sneak for that touchdown.
Gotcha.
And then I guess like I got a report that I guess he messed up his knee as well at some point during the game.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But I think he ended up playing through it. But anyways, like Chris Jones getting hurt was massive.
Yeah.
But listen, nonetheless, I think the Chiefs had a plan. They went in. Defense, they executed their plan. They're like, hey, we're gonna make Hurts beat us. We're not gonna let Barkley beat us. And you know, I mean, what they accomplished what they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened you underestimated the guy that was under center.
You also got out executed. Like, listen, that's the gamble you play.
Yeah, it is.
It's
the gamble.
If you're gonna put it in the hands of a player who you're not sure if he can do it or not,
and he does
it, that's kind of the game plan right there.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to live with it, and that's what they chose to live with, and ultimately it bit them in the ass.
And
so
it didn't help. Now, I think, granted, if Kansas City's offense was flowing like it normally does, and it was like a close game, and you kept with that game plan, maybe Hurts makes another mistake or two.
1,000%.
But when their offense was, I mean, they didn't even cross half field till the second half.
Yeah, it was rough.
Like, that's insane.
It was rough.
You're telling me Patrick Mahomes couldn't advance the ball past half field?
He had 24 yards and I believe 2 interceptions at halftime. Patrick Mahomes, 24 yards at halftime.
It's insane, bro.
I mean, that's just wild.
And it wasn't even like it wasn't just one person on that D line that was wreaking havoc. It was all 4 of them.
Yeah, it was all of them.
It was like Josh Sweat gets up with a sack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, probably top 5 best celebration in NFL is Josh Sweat's. Then you have, Jalen Carter getting in there. And then who's Big Boy's name? I got the strip sack.
Milton Williams was having himself a day, bro.
Dude, he was cooking, bro.
He was cooking. It was insane. I couldn't believe at one point in the game, I legitimately was like asking people in the room. I was like, there's like 4 people who can win MVP right now, and I don't know who it's going to be. Like at one point, it looked like it was going to be Sweat pretty definitively. Dylan was texting us about that.
Yeah.
And his stats made sense. They were just like otherworldly, but then Milton Williams went crazy. I mean, he had 3 solo sacks. He had 4 total. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles, 3 solo tackles. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and that forced fumble.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then not only that, but you had like Jordan Davis. He ended up getting in the party. And you had Burks with the interception, and he was leading in tackles. And you had Cooper DeJean, who had the pick six. And it was just like I legitimately I could have given it to 4 different defensive players, and all at the same time, Jalen Hurts is also like cooking. And as the game slowly kind of burned on, his stats were only going up and up and up, and he was only breaking another run, and he was only making another incredible play. Because, I mean, how many times did he do the Mahomes thing where like the pocket broke down, and he saw the gap, he didn't think twice, he just took off.
Dude, that one play. I know you know what I'm talking about. One where like Kansas City guy looped around. It was about to hit him in the back.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts was like sitting. He just went, took off.
Literally just immediately straight through the line.
35-yard game.
He did that like 3 times, and it was just backbreaking,
He just felt
bro.
presence, and he just.
It was impossible. Every time
off.
it felt like the Chiefs were finally going to get home, and friggin' Chris Jones, he literally hit him on the go ball to A.J. Brown at that, what was that, the third? Was that?
Yeah,
no.
It wasn't
the
It was
A.J. Brown
fourth
play.
down.
It was. I think it was the Devontae Smith touchdown that he threw.
Yeah.
Chris Jones is literally like
hugging him.
about to hug him and sack him, and I had Chris
Bomb.
Jones for a sack. That kind of sucked. So, but like every time it just seemed like they got about to get close. Like Jalen Hurts would just do something else. He would complete a crazy pass. He would complete a little check down to Saquon. He would take off down the middle. He just was unstoppable. Like they couldn't figure him out, which was just crazy to me. So, listen, 2 more things on the Chiefs before we kind of move on to some things about the Eagles I want to talk about. I heard this point, and I thought it was one of the best points I've heard. I feel like now that the Chiefs got beaten this way, we can now talk about football normally again. Meaning, like, for a long time, the Chiefs have been this boogeyman where we have to throw out all rationale when it comes to breaking down, like, their opponents and who they're playing against and maybe their games that they have coming up or how the season's going to outcome for them. Because, like, we're always, like, in the back of our mind, we always end the segment with, like, well, they're the Chiefs, you know? They'll probably do something. But, like, I feel like this is, like, the transition point into, no, like, we can actually talk about, like, they can be beat. Because also, like, we got to think, like, Kelsey, we don't know if he's coming back.
Dude, he shouldn't, bro.
He shouldn't.
Bro.
Is he going to? My money's on yes, but he shouldn't. Their
bad.
O-line is now kind of up in the air in terms of, like, what they can do with that. And not only that, they have quite a few people they have to they got to sign this offseason. So I don't know. It's like it feels like we're entering a new horizon where we can talk about maybe the Bills actually do have a chance. Maybe the Ravens actually do have a chance. Maybe these other teams in the AFC actually do have a chance to get there. That's at least my mindset moving forward. And I understand they're not the Eagles, but I think the Bills are only going to get better. I think the Ravens are only going to get better. I think even a team like the Bengals is going to have a big bounce back year. Even the teams like the Texans probably going to have more of a bounce back year. That's 4 really good teams. That's not even including like people in their own division, like Chargers, the Broncos, and now all of a sudden the maybe interesting Raiders, depending on what happens in the draft. So I think this might be a time where next season we don't always have to rely on they're just the Chiefs. And listen, they might make everybody eat their words with that. That's definitely a possibility.
I'm gonna say right now, so it can be documented, I don't subscribe to that.
Okay.
I think
I'm not going to be afraid to talk about it anymore.
That's
fine.
all
next season, I will not be subscribing to that.
That's fine, because I was thinking about it. There's no other team in the NFL could do to the Chiefs other than the Eagles. Like, there's no other team in the NFL right now that can do what just happened to the Kansas City Chiefs other than the Eagles.
Yeah, I think
there's not another roster in the NFL that can do that to them.
No, not in that way.
And so
not in that way.
I just don't. I don't subscribe to that. I will say. That being said, obviously you kind of touched on it. The Eagles and the Bucks and now the Eagles have laid the blueprint on how to beat this team in the postseason. You need to get pressure with just 4.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a solid secondary.
Yeah.
Solid. Doesn't have to be as good as the Eagles. You could probably do with a little bit like less of a roster because I mean, dude, if I go through and name all the defensive players on the Philadelphia Eagles, like it is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty Loctite.
And it's like it's not even like they went and signed all these people. Like they just drafted well.
Howie Roseman also though he's a ball hawk when it comes to just going and getting the guy on the market. Like if he knows there's a guy on the market,
but look
he
at their defensive
he
roster.
just goes and gets them.
They built the whole
yeah,
team off
this
the draft.
this iteration of the defense, yes, I agree.
Yeah, I mean
But
Quignon
Sweat,
and Cooper.
Sweat he's a big free agency signing, and like I understand like he was really the only one on this roster, but like in past years he has.
But
been,
I'm not talking about past year. I'm talking
I
about
agree.
this year.
I agree.
I mean, they built last year. They went and got Jalen Carter and who was their big guy last year that they got?
It might have been one of the other Georgia guys. I don't remember.
It was the linebacker.
It was
Dean. Then they got
or Smith. It was
Quignon
one of
and
the
Cooper
two.
this year. I mean, like we're talking about rookies that
Yeah.
are bona fide
Yeah.
ballers and starters. You know what I mean? Rookie with a pick six, and you know what I mean. Quignon locking down one half of the field. It's like it's insane.
Yeah.
But that being said, they have laid the blueprint on what you need to do. That being said, somebody with preferably one or two pieces on their defensive line already need to go get Myles Garrett.
I was hoping you brought this up. I was hoping this is where this all leading.
Texans.
That makes him the most interesting piece on the board.
Oh, 100%.
It makes him
You
the
watch what
single
just
biggest
happened,
thing.
And you go, well,
Ooh.
maybe I need a Myles Garrett.
Especially with a player of his caliber to
Oh my
even
gosh.
be on the market like this
Hall of
at
Famer.
this time. That should be every contending team's single-handed goal is to blow every other team's offer out of the water to go get Myles Garrett.
He's got, dude. I mean,
like your first rounder doesn't matter.
No,
respectfully, it doesn't matter.
he's got a couple good years in him.
Yeah,
left.
more than a couple. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna
And so if I'm the Texans, where I've got
Will
Anderson, I've got Daniil Hunter, I'm gonna go get me a Myles Garrett.
That's a crazy third piece right there.
If I'm the Bills, if I'm the Ravens, everybody loves. I don't know. I know why, but everybody loves to go play with Lamar. Like Lamar is just such like a force. Like people just gravitate to. Like we saw Derrick Henry's. Like I just wanted to play with Lamar. One, of course, phenomenal quarterback. Two, just a good dude.
Yeah,
just a fun guy.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised. Or maybe he goes. I don't know if he'll go to Philly.
Only reason I would be a little surprised about Ravens, and I would say even another team kind of similar in the boat, if you really want to make a big splash, is like the Bengals. That's a great piece. Only reason I would say like they might be a little further off the board is just because it's in division, and the Browns have already made it very clear like they don't necessarily want to trade Myles Garrett, and I don't think they especially will not trade. Because that AFC North hate is like a different type. It's not like the NFC North. NFC North just swaps players all the time. They do not care. They just rotate through everybody.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. I mean, like Bills, pairing him with like Von Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a cold weather guy. That's not going to bother him.
You know what team I would love to get him? Washington.
I would love Washington to get him.
I love Washington.
Especially, listen, Eagles are in your division. Like, that's a home run swing that you were saying, we recognize the window. We see the window. We're going for it.
100% you should see your window. This is the time with Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract that you need to just go all in.
Yeah.
Because I bet you when that dude is time to get paid, he's going to get paid.
And honestly, what might be the recipe to breaking down an Eagles defense like this? It's a quarterback that necessarily can't be touched.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what might be the recipe to this, and he's in division. So I completely agree with that. We'll see. The Eagles did open up as one of the favorites to get to trade for him.
I did see that, which is
it just tells you how much like Howie Roseman, like when a player comes on market, like he goes for it. Like they do not care. They are not a timid organization or front office. They go for the big swings.
I saw of the last, I believe, 5 years, a New York Giant first round pick has won a Super Bowl.
Really?
The last 5 years.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I mean, Kadarius Toney was
that one doesn't
of
count.
the last two. So
that's maybe a little bit of a blemish on that stat.
But like, man, how would you feel right now if you were the Giants GM?
I looked back at one of my buddies and I went when I don't remember when it was specifically. Saquon had done something, and I looked back at my buddy and I was like, John Mara's sick to his stomach right now, bro.
He's got to be
like
first year, not trade him. Let him go to a division rival.
Yeah.
And he wins the Super Bowl his first year.
And he breaks the all-time yards record in a single season.
You've got to be.
Like, he punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame last night, or 2 nights ago.
Yeah. And how old is he?
He's only like 28, I think. I don't think he's 30 yet. So, I mean, he's either 28 or 29, I want to say. But he's going to have a couple more good years.
28.
Yeah. He's going to have typically, like, we don't see the running back fall off until like 31, and even then the great ones go a little bit longer. Like we see Derrick Henry right now, like he's inching up on that, but he's still kicking really heavy. Yeah, dude. I mean, if I'm the Giants GM, that's all times to suck. There's only one way you can fix it is to go and get the right quarterback in these next 2 years.
This year.
Whether I would say next year too because of Arch, but if
no,
like
they're gonna get either Cam or Shador this year.
I would think, but I mean, you gotta listen. I wouldn't put anything past it because I heard just the other day the Titans are now thinking about trading potentially out of that first spot. So I wouldn't be surprised with anything that's happening in this draft, especially because if a team jumps them, that's not the Giants, and there's 1-2 quarterbacks. You know, they're kind of screwed. But next year, listen, you get the right quarterback in the building, all this changes. But their roster is just so deficient of talent. Unfortunately, I think they've got a young defense that is okay. Tyrone Tracy is cool. He's a great player. Obviously, Neighbors is Neighbors. So they've got some pieces, but I agree, man. Like, the sheer amount of decisions that this GM has made over there, I just can't believe John Mara hasn't kicked him out of the building yet.
I'm not gonna lie. I am like excited for the day when the Giants are good again.
I'm not. I do not like the Giants. They're one of my least favorite teams in the league.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that day, and hopefully Shador is at the helm, or Cam Ward. I love both of them.
We'll see. I'm not sure how much I believe in Cam Ward, but we'll get into that. That's a little preview right there for our draft episode coming out here soon. Last thing I want to touch on with the game itself. I'm not going to lie. With as big of an absolute beatdown it was like 17-0 in the back of my mind. Honestly, I would say even up all the way until 24-0. There was like a thought in my mind that just kept keeping there. And it was just like can we count him out yet type of mentality.
Yeah.
At 17-0, it was definitely there. It was thriving. It was like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. He gets a touchdown before the half. They come out the half. They score again. They get a stop. It's 14-17 all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. When it got to 24-0, the only thought in my mind was like, well, this is a mountain, but like, listen, if he wants to really put a mark in this GOAT conversation and get the three-peat, what's the best way to do it? How about you also do exactly what Tom Brady did?
Yeah.
And so that was like also lingering in my mind. It definitely was not officially dead until like they had that 3-and-out the half. And it just looked like the same abysmal stuff from the first half. But, I mean, did you have that thought at all? Because, like, that's all I was thinking about up until really it was 31. Was it 31-0 at that point? Because the deep ball put it to 31. Did you think they had a chance to come back at all?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about was that drive before half when it was only 17-0.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is doable because the Chiefs have the ball right now. They could go down and score right before half, and then they get ball at half.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, absolutely. This is still a game.
Yeah.
I think that was when
I'm almost positive
when he threw the pick.
That's when the pick happened
with
to
Bond.
To Braun. Is it Braun or Bond?
So that when he threw that pick, and then they one play touchdown AJ Brown.
Yeah.
And it went to like what? It was like
24-0.
24-0. I was like, I'm curious to see out of the half what adjustments, and like that's what I'll make it. So after the first like drive or two out of the half, when I saw Kansas City do nothing, I knew it was dead. Yeah. And it was around that time you texted, I think in our group chat, and you were like, talking about the Brady stuff. And no, I didn't subscribe to that. I didn't think he could do that.
Yeah, it was a small thought in my mind.
That what Brady did in that Super Bowl is like. I don't know if we'll ever see that again.
No, I don't think we will. I would be hard pressed to say
that
we'll ever see
that was insane.
That was a one-time magical moment type thing.
Oh, yeah.
It really was.
There's been a bunch of jokes. There's obviously that infamous picture of Tom Brady in that Super Bowl when he's on the bench and he's like looking down at his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
And people were put that picture, and they put a picture of Mahomes on the sideline, and they're like, at this moment for Tom Brady. Tom Brady sold his soul. Tom Brady lost his family. He sold his family to win this Super Bowl. They said Mahomes is not willing to give up Brady.
Not willing to do it.
And that is it was like, and that's the difference between the GOATs.
And I will say before the game, there was a there was the sentiment out there like, what does this mean for the GOAT conversation if Mahomes pulls this off? That gap has been widened probably for the next 3 years, I would say.
Yeah, it's been
Next
widened.
3 to 4 years.
Until he gets his next one, if he does.
I know.
Until he gets his next one, he's going to be arm's length away.
For sure. The three-peat was like the heavy subscription that leaned him really far forward, though.
For sure, but that's
a fourth
gone.
Super Bowl isn't going to do that really for me. Like, it's going to be cool, but it's not going to – I still don't think it's going to put him – it's going to – like, obviously he's going to get closer.
He has 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously he's going to get closer, but I don't think, like I'm now, like –
Because Brady has 6?
He's got
5?
7.
7. Jesus.
And the last one being with a different team.
Yes, that's a big thing.
And now he's not
and he beat Mahomes.
He's not only undefeated against Mahomes in the playoffs, both in the AFC Championship in 2019 to get to this last Super Bowl, the Patriots, and the next year to beat him in the Super Bowl. But now Mahomes has something that Brady does not have. He's been absolutely embarrassed in 2 Super Bowls, like pantsed. And if you go back and look at Brady, the one thing that is ever consistent is his Super Bowls are almost never bad. Even his like bad ones are not really bad. So that's also now another new thing that he's got, because we've never seen Mahomes lose and have a great game in the Super Bowl. It's like if he has a great game, you're not winning, which is it's testament to his dominance. But like that also is something to say. Like you've been blown out now twice, back-breaking blowouts.
Yeah, it's just I'm just worried about once we get like 5, 6, 7 years away from the Super Bowl, you'll go and look at the stats, right?
Yeah.
And statistically, on paper, you go, man, Mahomes threw for 257, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he had 2 interceptions, but he threw for 257 and 3 touchdowns. What happened? You know what I mean? It's like he had a good game. Well, I wouldn't say good. 2 picks is not great. But that's not at all a testament for how they get. Like he got what? Probably 150 to 200 of those yards in the fourth quarter when the Eagles were just like chilling, ready for the confetti to drop.
Yeah, it was 40-6 at one point.
Oh yeah.
And I believe he didn't even get those last 2 touchdowns till like literally the last 2 minutes.
It was the last 5 minutes of the game.
So, yeah, I mean, and definitely the Eagles they were still coming after him too. Like he did make some great plays those last two drives, but it was just too little, too late type stuff.
I'll tell you what, dude, the ballsiest play was out of the half. The Eagles are up 24-0. Oh yeah, now we're just going to chew the clock rest of the half, right? Psych. Freaking 50-yard bomb Devontae Adams, bro. Not Devontae Adams. Devontae Smith, which was insane, dude. I don't know, bro. That play specifically was so crazy because like you don't. I mean, not saying you don't take a shot like that, but like when you're up that much, like you don't need to, and so just to let your nuts hang out,
dude,
and air it out like that, bro.
It was big dick energy for sure.
Bro.
It was my jaw physically like dropped when I saw that. I was legitimately just like,
dude, he put it in the bread basket.
It was such a great throw. It was such a great catch. It was just insane stuff. Yeah, that was like the backbreaker. Once that one went through, I was like, oh, this is cooked. Let's pack this in. Let's ride this out. Oh man. All right. So listen, Eagles running off into the sunset. Next year, man, they got to be the favorites. Especially in the NFC. I mean, I know the Lions are still lurking. I do think you mentioned earlier, like nobody can beat the Chiefs like this. I agree with that. Like I don't think anybody can beat the Chiefs in the way that they just did it. I do think if there's teams that could replicate it, at least to some effect, I think the Ravens are one of those teams just because their front seven is so good and defense is so variant from year to year. I'm sure that defense will swing a little bit better, more into the positive for the whole season next year, as opposed to what it was for a majority this year. And we didn't really get to see that matchup in the playoffs. So I think the Ravens are a team that can replicate it. I do think even like the Bills, if they land another good draft and their players on defense develop another year, that could be a team to watch because their defense was playing really well by the end of the year.
The Texans, bro.
The Texans are one to watch for that.
Low-key. They were giving the Chiefs kind of problems.
Oh, they were giving the Chiefs problems for sure.
That defense was.
The Chargers, I think, are interesting because like they're getting older in certain spots, their defense, but their defense was really good this year. If they made a play at like someone like Myles Garrett, that could alter the chemistry a little bit. That would be like a very dumbed down scale of what it would be. The only team I feel like could maybe beat the Chiefs in a not like, I don't think this dominant of fashion, but definitely could outrun them. And that would be like their formula would probably be the Lions. But they could also kind of replicate this a little bit with Aiden Hutchinson. They've got Zadarius Smith, who's playing really well. They could definitely pick up more free agents. They could draft really well at that position. They could go get a Myles Garrett. That would be another scary team for him. And their secondary is really good. We saw them develop over this year and get just better and better and better.
Dogs back there.
And they've got Anzalone in the middle, so they've got that kind of recipe brewing of we've got someone at all three levels. We've got cohesion at all three levels. And on top of that, like their offense, I think, is just as devastating. The difference is like Goff can't do that running thing that Jalen Hurts does. So, but do they really need that if they've got a healthy Sonic and Knuckles and also an equally as powerful offensive line? So they do things differently than the Eagles, but I do think they are a team out of the NFC. They're the only other team I could see out of the NFC that can legitimately like cause problems and maybe produce a game like this in the Super Bowl where like they're just kind of running away with it. And the Lions would just be very different because it would just be offensive, like just running, like sprinting and never stopping, and the Chiefs just not being able to catch up versus the Eagles just did it completely in all facets of the game, but mainly defense first, I feel like.
They would need another defensive lineman on the Lions, like a Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously Aiden Hutchinson is special, bro.
Yeah.
Like that guy
he's playing awesome.
At the beginning of the year was on pace to do something that's never been done before.
He was on pace to smash the record.
Bro. Insane.
And that's kind of a hard stat to like say on pace for because that like players do go like really up and down with that. I mean,
but he got hurt like week
the
3.
way it was trending was crazy.
Week 3,
he was so early.
Like, he got hurt so early. But he had like first game he had a couple sacks and like one game he had like 4 or 5, like just that one game. I want to talk about this. I don't know what else you have like topics wise.
Go ahead.
I really want to touch on this because this is really important, and I think it is important for us to touch on it because we made it such a big deal in past episodes when talking about the Chiefs, and that it just deserves to be talked about now with the result of what we got, the officiating.
Yeah,
I think it's very important to be, when the Chiefs are winning and we're complaining about this, that, and the other. That when they lose, that we also talk about the officiating because I think that's very, very important.
Stay consistent. I love it.
Now, I will say, I thought the officiating was pretty good.
I didn't think there was many egregious calls.
I think there were some soft calls,
for sure,
but they were consistent. Both teams got the soft calls.
Yeah.
So that when it washed, I was like, okay,
yeah.
The A.J. Brown go ball on 4th down. Which one was funny because it's like that's exactly what happened in Washington. It's like when they needed they were literally had 1 yard, like 2 yards, 3 yards, just out of QB sneak range. It's like 1-on-1 go ball to A.J. Brown. And he caught it. Obviously threw the flag, and I think the Eagles kicked the field goal.
Yeah, maybe.
After that. And then, obviously the Saquon getting hit in the back of the head, call, whatever. I don't want to sit here and say, look what happens when the Chiefs don't get these timely calls on 3rd down, 3rd and 30, and they get an automatic first. That being said, the Eagles were getting all those calls.
They were.
They got probably, I think I was counting, like 3, maybe 4 drives that were extended off a penalty.
Yeah, and a couple of them, they got moved back on field goals as well.
And a couple against the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one specific that saved the drive for the Eagles.
100%.
We had a neutral zone infraction. There's one, there was an
offsides on one of them.
Was it? That's the neutral zone.
No, there was neutral zone is different from offsides. Like there was an offsides on one of them.
Oh, on one of them.
Yeah.
What I don't know if it was 3rd down or I think it was 4th down and the Eagles are going for it. Chiefs sent the house. Immediately sacked Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Big play. Turnover. I think it was a turnover. Flag came out. And then you look at the replay. To be fair, he wasn't lined up in the neutral zone. It went from, I think, a turnover to first down. It's interesting because it's like, do I go with do I go with the respect of like because it wasn't the Chiefs that like these were good calls?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
what if the Chiefs got all these calls
Yeah.
that the Eagles got? How would we be reacting? I don't know. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts
I
on?
guess my difference from what I saw with the calls in this game was just that it felt honestly like a lot of the time. First off, when Ron Torbert came out and called that pass interference, that OPI on that first goal ball, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that was a little
We're
little
here.
soft.
This is it. This is what we're gonna be dealing with all night.
That's what we all thought. That was the
And,
first flag of the game.
I don't know who called down to them. I don't know if they got a huddle together or whatnot. But listen, I actually do feel like it was pretty fairly officiated. I do agree there was a lot of soft calls. There were a few that I kind of just like, I don't. Yeah, did you need to call that? I think even some of them were like they were on the line. I was kind of like, is he? Like, is he really off? Is he really in the nude? Like, I a couple of them, but no, I think like the difference was, and you know, a lot of Chiefs truthers and defenders of how the reffing has been going this year will point to the fact that like they are just a little bit more disciplined in the bigger moments than other teams are. And we saw that in the Bills game where like there were some bad calls in the Bills game, but a lot of the self-inflicted wounds were on the Bills, and the Chiefs were able to capitalize on that, and they were able to use those moments in their momentum in their favor. Versus this game, they were the one committing like the shooting themselves in the foot
Dude,
errors.
so many mental mistakes.
So many. And so I think that set the tone early where it was like it was such a pop in the mouth from the defensive line, coupled with the fact that like I think just all of them were just trying to get a foot ahead the entire night. That I mean, a lot of those penalties were holding, and it's because the offensive line legitimately just could not hold up. They were holding on for dear life. So no, I agree. I want to be consistent, and I do think a lot of the calls went the Eagles' way. But I like if you go back and watch them, it's gonna sound funny because like we're talking about it the opposite way to the Chiefs, and it sounds like it could be like a bias. I really don't think it was like super egregious for the most part. Like a lot of them were like, yeah, that's a penalty, and it wasn't. And I agree. There were more than a few that were like on plays that would have stopped things in a good way for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But they called literally 3 penalties on 3 of the field goals that the Eagles kicked too.
Yeah.
It
was all in the Eagles.
It was all of them. So then they called the OPI as well.
The Chiefs weren't doing many field goals.
No, they weren't doing much anything.
Yeah.
So like there were calls on that side of the ball as well. I'm interested to go see like what the actual split was. I haven't seen anything online about that yet. But no, I didn't feel like it was egregious. I really didn't. I felt like they were, for the most part, pretty fair, and it honestly kind of surprised me because it allowed them to play ball. Now, the Eagles were really the only ones playing ball, but it allowed them to actually play. And so I think that the biggest difference is the fact that the Chiefs were shooting themselves in the foot where they just haven't all season. And so it may have felt like in times in the games they were getting the no calls and the Eagles were getting all the calls, but I genuinely just feel like it was them just not being their normal disciplined selves, and it wasn't the championship mentality that they've shown all season, especially through the playoffs. So,
all right, I've got all the penalties here.
Okay, sick.
So
what's the split? Does it say like the total split?
I'm gonna break down. There was 1, 2, 3.
Brief counting break.
17 penalties in total.
Oh, wow.
In the game, which is not a lot.
More than I thought. I feel like though.
I think a lot of them came at like the end.
Mm-hmm.
So here on 4th down, AJ Brown got called for OPI.
Mm.
Okay. On 3rd down, 3rd and 5, Trent McDuffie was called for unnecessary roughness.
Yeah, I remember that play. Yep.
That was declined because I think they ended up getting the first down.
Didn't matter.
Here we go on Omenhu. Charles
Omenahu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Omenahu. This was on 3rd down, 3rd and 4. He was called for defensive offsides.
Yeah.
Right.
That was one where he like lined up completely. Or no, that was the one where he jumped.
Yep. Philly got called for a false start. That was on 4th down. Dickerson got called for holding. That was on a 1st down. Bolton got called for that unnecessary roughness on Saquon. That was 2nd and 26 when that was called.
Mm.
Pretty sure I don't know if that's an automatic first.
It's weird because I think it's only 15 yards, but it might be an automatic first. I'm not entirely sure.
So that was accepted. Delay a game on the Eagles, whatever.
I do remember that one. That one was for the punt. They moved themselves back a little bit to give their punter more room.
Offensive holding on is it Troy Smith? That's the Chiefs offensive lineman. So we'll go ineligible man downfield. Ineligible downfield pass on Creed Humphrey, I guess.
Yeah, that was when he went too far down the. It was too far down the field.
Offensive holding illegal waste. Trying to look at the ones that like changed the drive. Really, it was just those
I'm about to say
two.
like it really wasn't a lot.
It really was
And
just those
that's
two.
like the difference you're
the
noticing.
Nick Bolton unnecessary roughness was accepted. So
Yeah.
either that was an automatic first or 15 yards. Either way, helps out the Eagles a lot.
Yeah.
And then the offsides is automatic.
Well, this is what you mentioned last episode is that it's really the Chiefs thing is like the weirdness in which the penalties occur is the crazy part about like their weird penalty magic that they got going on. It's always like they wait to throw a flag until the play goes, or it's always like it's super touchy and they need it on this play and it gets them exactly the amount they need.
I think it's
And
like
we didn't see that a lot.
This game was so well officiated. Why can't we get this consistency?
From one of the I saw his there was like a stat that was released during the week about Ron Torbert being the referee for this game, and his crew I don't think is like very well liked among like the streets, and B I don't think they're really like numbers wise great officiating crew. They get a lot that are re-looked at and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe it's a precursor to what we'll see next year.
I just want to say, and I think he deserves a shout out before we end the episode. Not that he's gonna hear this, but Jake Elliott, bro, great job,
dude. I almost took him to miss a field goal, and then I completely 180, and I almost took him for the over on his points. It was like 6.5, and I really looked at it for a long. No, sorry, it got bumped up. It originally was 6.5. It got bumped up to 7.5, and I was like, huh. So now he's gonna have to make 3 field goals, and I legitimately went, I don't think he can make 3 field goals, and I didn't take the bet.
Good on you, bro, to do your job.
He did his job.
He's not had a great
they
season.
They were pure, too, all of them.
All right down the middle. And it's like right down the middle, flag, back him up. That's fine. Right down the middle.
It's funny, too, because like those are the moments where you...
And he hit a 50-yarder, I'm pretty sure, which he was like 1 for 6 in the season or something like that.
Yeah, he was terrible this year.
Terrible.
And those were all moments where, like, if he misses those field goals, it's like, all right, here it is. Here's the momentum shift.
Yeah.
And he just, any air that was left in the balloon, he just deflated out of it even further. Like, every single time he just peered it.
Dude, just like, good on you for doing your job.
Yeah.
Now, it's like, you could argue whether they mattered or not. It doesn't matter. Like, you had a job, you went on the field, and you executed it, and you did everything I was asked of you.
He ended up with 9, right?
I
believe so. Maybe he made 3. He might have made 4. I can't remember,
but I know like half of his attempts got backed up.
Yeah.
For whatever, they were getting really stingy on this call on the snapper.
They were, man.
They were
killing
just
him for it.
Bullying this guy.
They're killing him for it.
And so Jake would kick it, pure flag, back it up. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right down the middle, pure again. Yeah. So good on you, bro. Like, I know you didn't have a great season, but in the game that mattered the most, when the team called on you to get on the field and do what you do, you delivered. You didn't miss.
Yeah.
So good on you, man.
I agree. Any final thoughts about this season?
I'm happy that Saquon got a ring.
Yeah, I am too. Honestly, I'm happy for a lot of the Eagles play. So my boy, he FaceTimed me and texted me a few times throughout this game. Funny enough, yesterday he told me 13.5 points, take the points for the Eagles.
What do you mean?
Like, take the Eagles blowout.
Oh.
And I was just like stunned. I was texting him during the game, and he FaceTimed me afterwards, and he's in Philly. So he FaceTimed me once when they won, then he FaceTimed me when he was going down into the streets to show me the chaos that was going on. But no, it's just like as much as like I was dreading the moment where we'd have to live in the world where the Eagles won this game like this.
You were dreading.
A lot of people were. That's a lot of the memes on the internet were, all right, we watched the three-peat, or the worst fans in the NFL get another ring. Like, that was a lot of the memes. But no, just seeing like a lot like Jalen and Devontae, and seeing Saquon get that ring. Like that was incredible. Seeing Jalen and Saquon specifically were like the two for me where I was like, man, I'm just really happy for them. Also, we didn't talk about it much at all. That commercial that dropped for Jalen right after the game was incredible. The Jordan commercial.
Oh yeah.
It was so good. The Love Hurts one. That was an all-timer for me. And then also there's two really great photos of him rolling around the internet right now. I might throw them up because I saved them. There's one of him like smoking the cigar on the floor. He's like sitting with the Super Bowl, and he's got the cigar smoke like coming out of his mouth. And then the other one is him like just kind of standing, and there's literally like a spotlight on him in the midst of like the media and the confetti falling, and he just looks like dead ass serious. And the game's over and they've won, but it's just a phenomenal. Have you seen those photos?
Have you? I haven't. Have you? I'm curious. Before we go, have your thoughts changed on him at all? Because you were
so that was
big,
a top.
big
Yeah,
critic.
that was a topic I did want to get into a little bit tonight, but I want to save that a little more for future stuff. But that's the photo of the confetti.
That was tough.
Whoever got that, incredible photo. I don't know if I saved the one of the cigar one, but that one was cold too. Yeah, well, like I talked about last week, like he has two paths here. It's like if he loses this game, like what does it mean for him? And if he wins this game, what does it mean for him? I do think he kind of entered a little branch off of the winning path, which is like, what if I win this game in this fashion? And now that he did, it in the way that he did, listen, I think he's just going to be one of those guys who's maybe not the most consistent throughout an entire season, or even his entire career. But I think now definitively, like, I don't think anybody can take away the fact that he's like a top 8 quarterback. And I was very heavy on like the Jaden is the best quarterback in the NFC. I do think maybe in another year's time that might be true. But I think
so you're back.
I think right now, legitimately,
you're
like
recanting.
that was Jalen taking the crown off him, like ripping it back, which he should have never left. But that was like him ripping the crown, and taking it for himself. I think he's definitively right now the best quarterback in the NFC. But I think he can be that and be the inconsistent quarterback that we've seen all at the same time. Because now we've seen that he's capable of doing it in the big moments now twice. And we've seen that his peak is very high. Like his ability to run, he really looks like Russell Wilson to me. Like he looks like a young Russell Wilson with the way he throws the deep ball. If you would have told me as a Bama fan that this kid was going to do this, I maybe could have bought a little bit of it, but I don't think I would have ever expected this from him in the NFL. And so that's where I'm just like, I'm so happy for him. Because I was watching this kid when he first popped on the scene, and I was so excited to have him as a freshman at Alabama. I was crushed when he didn't win the championship that first year against that stupid-ass Clemson team in the last play of the game. I was crushed when he got taken out, even though it was like great for our team. But just to see like his career now, going from that freshman out of Alabama to getting taken out of the championship game to now Super Bowl MVP and champion and like one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I think it's just such a cool story. And it's funny, I heard someone talking about it, like, because all season he's been kind of making fun. He's been made fun of because like he has those quotes. He's one of those guys who like says all these mystical, like ethereal quotes that like everybody's kind of like, dude, what? Now when he says it, there's like an aura to it because it's like, no, but like I'm a champion. It's like I say whatever the fuck I want type stuff.
Yeah.
And time will tell like more definitively as his career goes on. But I think right now he deserves to be considered as best quarterback in the NFC. Probably a top 8 guy, if maybe higher, based on what he's done this postseason. So, and I'm okay with recanting that statement. Listen, I see things as they come. If the information changes, I'm going to make that evaluation. And the information changed from what it did 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago was I don't know about this guy. He changed it. That's all it takes. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm excited. Way too early Super Bowl predictions next year. Go.
I've got Bengals and Commanders.
What a life that will be. Lucas might implode.
Hey, it is what it is.
Oh man. Way too early. You make it hard not to jump on the Bengals bandwagon. Oh man, because I'm this may be way too early in preview for next season, but I will be heavy on the Bengals next year.
And I'll be right there with you.
Heavy on the Bengals next year. Man, I hate how every year the Super Bowl ends and they're like, all right, favorites for next year, Chiefs, Eagles again. Like, cool.
It's not
Thanks.
fun.
That's not how that works really, typically.
It's not fun at all.
No. So
even a Lions Bengal would be nice.
I am more inclined to pick Lions out of the NFC,
That's
even
fine.
though Eagles will be the favorite. I think a healthier Lions team will give them a run for their money, though. I would say Lions, and if you subscribe to the color theory.
Oh, Panthers.
That's not where I was going with that. It's kind of weird because the logo is like pink and green and blue.
I'm gonna look at it.
It's not really like two colors. It's going to be a bit of a stretch here for the color theory. But if you subscribe to the color theory, it will be Lions Ravens. I think that's a pretty good one. Unless somehow the Panthers pull off something magical.
Do you see who our quarterback
The
is?
blue, yeah, but the blue is pretty, and then the pink are Ravens stuff. So
Pink for Ravens?
that's kind of what people. Well, so I saw.
I mean, this is Ravens.
Well, this is like a little bit purple right here, but I saw people like they put up this logo and they picked like the 6 teams that it could possibly be, and Ravens,
That's Panthers or Lions.
Panthers, Lions for sure.
There's no in between.
May I subscribe to the theory?
We'll know by halfway through the season who that really
which one that is. Ravens or
for what do you point at? The purple or the pink?
the purple.
Okay.
Ravens or come on now.
The Texans?
The Vikings. Vikings.
Then who's the blue?
Chargers.
Oh, the yellow and the blue?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Another one, you can see the Rams again, maybe. Not quite the Rams blue.
That's definitely Chargers yellow and blue.
That's actually like a lime green if you really look at like the actual color of it.
This.
Yeah.
My laptop is just tripping.
Yeah, your laptop is scuffed.
Is it not this?
No, that was one that got released and it might have been it, and then it got debunked. That's the one that was literally released after the game.
This one?
So they're trying to throw the color theory out the window. They're trying to put the pink in there to like try and disguise us a little bit.
Well, now hear me out.
That green though is the same green that was this logo, which the Eagles made. So maybe Eagles again as well.
This offseason expansion team that just happens to be pink.
Can you imagine that? That's gross.
Dude,
that's so gross.
Pink in it.
I honestly hope we never get another expansion team. I think this is perfect what we have right now.
Yeah, I'm ready for the NBA to get there.
That's a different story. I'm ready for that one for sure.
The pink they definitely threw in there to be like, but
what is it? Who could it be? Hey, you know what I don't see in there though?
What?
Goddamn red. It's gone.
That's right.
It's gone.
That's right. Dynasty's over.
Dynasty's dead.
They destroyed them.
Dynasty's dead.
I'm saying Ravens Lions.
I think it's a good
with
bet.
off color theory.
Yeah, off color theory.
Yeah. But Bengals Commanders.
Also, Bills are blue too.
Yeah, they're a dark blue.
They're not as dark though. They're not that light, but they're not not
that's
dark.
That's Lions or Panthers.
That's like Lions, Panthers blue for sure. Probably a little more Lions.
It's a little Panthery. It's a little Panthery.
Oh man! Hey, stay tuned next year for Super Bowl 60 when we discuss how the Panthers single-handedly won Joe back by getting to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
And winning it. Bryce
Panthers, Ravens, and Lamar gets there just to be dethroned.
Bryce Young, the Grim Reaper, comes in
by the Grim Reaper. That is the coldest nickname.
I hope it keeps up.
I hope it keeps
up. I hope it keeps up. Well, I mean, if he starts losing, it's not really gonna keep up.
No, that's the point, that we lose until we have nothing else to lose, and then we take everything from everybody else.
At some point, you have to win, though.
Yeah, you're right. But in order to keep the nickname, we got to be ruining people's seasons.
Oh man. Also, I didn't really touch on this. Do you have any thoughts about Josh Allen winning MVP over Lamar?
I'm not mad. I don't, whether Josh or Lamar won, I wasn't gonna be mad. I know a lot of people feel some type of way. People saying
I'm surprised how many people came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that like this is just like the Embiid, where it's just like, bro, fine, here, Jesus, just leave us alone. That's kind of what they did for Embiid.
Embiid did deserve that MVP though. He deserved a MVP. I guess is the correct adjective there. So.
But so I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
I love Josh Allen. I love Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, you made that very clear.
Yeah, so I'm a big supporter.
Love to see more of her at the games.
Yeah,
really
would love to see some more shots over there at her booth.
Didn't see a lot of Taylor Swift shots this game. Really didn't.
When
she got booed.
Really big.
She got booed really bad.
She was just like, "What?
What the hell is going on?
What are we booing at?"
Oh man, hey, all right, we've babbled on quite a long time. Look forward to seeing the Bengals and Commanders in the Super Bowl next year. It's gonna be fun.
Stay tuned for free agency tracker.
Yes, very fun,
very exciting stuff. Now,
we are gonna take a break next week.
Yep,
but we're gonna be back to wrap up the NFL season with obviously the free agency tracker. Very excited to see where your heart lies. We got a very fun episode in tail for that. Little fantasy wrap up. A little bit of draft preview because we won't be coming back to football until late April for the draft. We will be transitioning to basketball. Basket's All-Star break. It's happening. The league has been quite crazy. Some things are going wild, and we can't wait to talk about it because I will say we have a lot of good conversations about football, but I think our basketball conversations are more heated in a good way. Some spirited debate amongst the basketball takes. So I'm super excited to transition to basketball. It's been a fun football season, but it is just another season. It's gone. It's dead. Congrats to the Eagles.
Congrats, Eagles.
Congrats to the Eagles. All right, that's going to be it for us. Thanks for hanging around the house with us. Go subscribe to YouTube. Go follow the TikTok. Go follow the Instagram. We're going to be posting there. So if you're joining us again, drop a like. We appreciate it a lot. Keep following. And tell your friends because we're having lots of fun talking sports, and we want more people to talk sports with us. So thanks for coming around the house with us. We will catch y'all next time. Peace.